I was only a lampent for about 3 days. Until it happened. It? What's it? Is this the emotional part? I guess you could call it that. I didn't know what emotions I was feeling at the time, but what I didn't know was that my life was about to change forever. It was 10:30 at night, and everybody in the house was asleep. The daughter was holding on to me tightly in her sleep. I was still awake though. I couldn't seem to get any shut-eye. But then she suddenly woke up and started having a coughing fit. I guess it did make sense. It was mid-November, so her getting sick wasn't too far-fetched. I felt her head and it was extremely warm. Lampent. And so she went, as I was left alone in the bed. I just sat there, waiting for her to come back. Milliseconds turned into seconds, and seconds turned into minutes. About 10 whole minutes had passed after she stepped out of that room, and I was starting to get worried. It shouldn't take her this long to just take some medicine, right? Maybe she had to use the restroom? Maybe she's speaking with the parents? My curiosity was piquing. And of course, I was deeply concerned about my owner. I waited another 5 minutes and still nothing happened. I know she told me to stay put, but I couldn't any longer. I sprung out of bed and headed straight to the bathroom. As soon as I made it over there, I realized that the door was shut. But not locked, though. Without any hesitation, I turned the doorknob and headed inside. And what I found at first was what I thought at the time, nothing to worry about. I saw the daughter lying there, on the carpet of the bathroom floor. At the time, I thought she had just fallen asleep. Maybe she didn't even get to take the medicine. Lampent. 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 I tried tapping her multiple times, but she would refuse to wake up. I didn't really comprehend what was going on, so I flipped her over. And as soon as I did that, I realized that her eyes were wide open. And I think that's when it hit me. I started to panic. I immediately went over to check her pulse. And when I did, I felt nothing. She saw me floating above the dead body, and it became obvious to both of us right then and there that this situation did not look good for me. And from her perspective, it looked like I had just murdered her only daughter.
Lampent, what did you do?
Lampent! Lampent! Lampent!
Why? I should have known.
Pent! Lampent!
I could do something that should have been done a long time ago.
Lampent! She grabbed me. I could feel the anger within her as I struggled to get free. She shoved me directly into the bathtub and turned on the water. I started to panic. She was gonna try and kill me. But before I could do anything, she grabbed hold of me once again and shoved my head underneath the water. I painfully struggled as I just looked up straight at her face. I could see so much fiery rage in it. I could feel my flames starting to go out. This might have been the end of me. I held onto her arms of mine and just stared up at her. And she stared right back at me, waiting for me to succumb. And eventually, everything went black. Pet! I surprisingly survived, though. I looked at the clock. Only a few minutes had passed and I had luckily only passed out. But my flame still felt so utterly weak. Even to this day I don't understand how I survived. I should have been dead. Was that a guardian angel watching over me or something? Preventing my death? Whatever the case, I was given a second chance. And as I fell onto the carpet, the only emotions I could feel at that time were sadness, betrayal, and anger. I looked over to my left. The body of the daughter was gone, presumably taken to the hospital. I was still so confused as to what happened to her. I eventually got off the ground. I got onto the bathroom table, and I saw an open bottle of pills. I proceeded to read the label on it, and it read, blood pressure pills. And it all became clear to me then and there. The doctor must have mistaken the mother's blood pressure pills as cold medicine and suffered a heart attack. It was an accident, and I was just blamed for something I didn't do. I was almost murdered. I didn't do anything wrong. And in fact, I thought it was the parents' fault. At the time, I thought this was completely their fault. They could have just told her which pills were which. But now I know today that it wasn't completely their fault. It really was nobody's fault. It was just an accident after all. But I was furious. I floated to the front door and saw that it was unlocked. They must have forgotten to lock it behind them after they rushed out of the house. And as soon as I opened the door, I fell onto the cold hard ground. It was raining. And hard too. If I didn't do something quick, I was about to have another near-death experience. I quickly lifted up the trash can and looked inside. And after a bit of rummaging around, I found the Dusk Stone. I was a chandelier, and even though it was downpouring, I didn't feel a thing. I was being fueled by pure, raw anger. And like that, I left the house and never returned back. I see. So that's what happened. It's truly unfortunate. I feel so bad for that little girl. And I assume that's why you're scared of bathtubs, Chandelure? Precisely. It was traumatizing for me. Anytime I see a bathtub, or am dunked in some sort of body of water, I think back to that incident. That incident that still haunts me to this day. And that's why last episode was an absolute nightmare for me. I see. Well, now I understand you a whole lot better, Chandelure. I'm sorry that this happened to you, Chandelure. Feel free to vent to us any time, you know. Did you think that was the end of the story? Yeah. Is there more? Only a tiny bit more. But it's definitely the most important part of this story. Battle starting in 1 minute. Please make it to the battleground. And I will tell you it after this round. Chandelure? Please tell me the story at least has a somewhat happy ending. Happy ending? Oh, poor naive Covagrigus. Happy endings don't exist. They're just myths. Chandelure, what did you do?